Breaking news out of the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys will be placing the franchise tag on wide receiver George Pickens today. That's per multiple reports. The tag will guarantee Pickens $28 million next season as the two sides still try to work out a long-term contract. Cowboys co-owner Stephen Jones sat down with our Jonathan Jones yesterday. Here's what he had to say about Pickens and the tag.
We have nothing but respect, and we love George and want him here. And it's real important for us. I think George wants to be here. We'll
on a long-term contract.
Yes, I'm sure he wants to be under a long-term contract. No one ever just loves the franchise tag. But by the way, as I've heard some players say, there's worse things in terms of what they do get paid under a franchise tag.
Sure, a guaranteed $29 million isn't too bad.
Isn't too bad when that's your backup plan. But we'll just continue to monitor this. We'll be communicating with George and his representatives, before we make the final decision, and we'll go from there.
They will have until July 15th to reach an agreement on a long-term deal. Pickens, of course, coming off the best season of his pro career, was named second-team All-Pro, tallying a career-high 93 catches for just over 1,400 yards, while also finding the end zone 9 times, which is one of the best seasons in Cowboys history that Pickens just put in. We now continue this conversation and bring in our A1 Cowboys guy. That's Garrett Podell tapped in with us. And Garrett, no shock at all that George Pickens is going to get the tag. We knew that was coming eventually, but now that it is here, what's your initial reaction?
Zach, I'm not surprised at all because I asked Jerry Jones at the season-ending press conference back in January about George Pickens, and he referenced Pickens as being, quote, the very best of what the Micah Parsons trade can bring us in the future, meaning he viewed opening up the cap space and not making Micah Parsons the highest paid defensive player in football, like the Green Bay Packers did after they acquired him in that trade at the beginning of last season, to be able to sign guys like George Pickens, have cap space for somebody like All-Pro defensive tackle Quinnen Williams. And so now it's time for Jerry to live up to his promise and get this deal done. I asked Jerry as well, how is this going to be different than the Micah Parsons negotiations? Because they have the same agent, David Mulligetta. If you remember with the Parsons talks, Jerry went around Mulligetta, invited Parsons to come to the Star, the team facility, in March of 2025 and try and hammer a deal out together. And then when those talks fell apart, it kind of went radio silent until Parsons was traded to Green Bay. And when I asked him that, he looked me dead in the eyes and said there will be no comparison to these negotiations with George Pickens versus the ones that occurred with Micah Parsons. And Jerry said, if I have to be sweet to get this deal done, I will. And if I have to do it the other way, I'll do it the other way.
Yeah, we heard in that clip we played of Stephen Jones talking to our Jonathan Jones. Stephen mentioned, we will be monitor and we will communicate with Pickens and his agent, which is certainly a different side of the story that we saw as it all went down with Micah Parsons. So this saga that we're about to embark on, do you think it'll be a saga? Does the deal get done soon, or will it stretch out all the way into July when the deal has to be done if it's going to get done?
Well, Zach, what I've learned from being around the Cowboys these last few years is deadlines make deals. The Cowboys, they act in these sorts of situations when it's go time. If you remember with Dak Prescott's contract negotiations, they re-signed him to his 4-year, $240 million deal hours before kickoff in week 1 at the Cleveland Browns. They got it done in the away team hotel before kicking off that season in 2024. So I would imagine this would run into the summer, and I wouldn't be surprised if it got to July 15th. It doesn't necessarily have to. But I truly do think that this will, quote, drag on, and I'll be coming to you live from the Star during OTAs, mandatory minicamp, with the regular George Pickens updates like we did with Micah Parsons a year ago. But I would think that given the optics and the outrage from the fan base for trading away Micah Parsons a week before the season last year, they would do their very best to communicate with Mulligetta, as Stephen Jones said, and get this done in the summer.
Do you think the deal might drag all the way over into the regular season and we see a holdout situation from Pickens? Because I'm going to assume that he does not want to play on the tag and he wants the security of the extra money and the years on a deal.
Well, Zach, I don't think you can rule it out because The last couple deals, Dak Prescott, who I just mentioned, that his contract made him the highest paid player in the NFL on average per year salary. And then CeeDee Lamb's deal that was signed shortly before that in the same offseason that made him number 2 or now number 3 in wide receiver average per year salary. I mean, CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott won those negotiations. I think after those two talks, Jerry and Stephen Jones don't want to feel like they're getting taken to the woodshed, so to speak, on these negotiations. So there's definitely a real possibility that this drags on in order for the Jones family to feel like they're not losing another negotiation. So I could definitely see it. Obviously, with Stephen Jones saying, I'm going to communicate with David Mulugeta early on here when talking to our Jonathan Jones, I think these talks might have a little bit better tenor than they did with Parsons a year ago. But when it comes to Cowboys superstar contract negotiations, it's all kind of up in the air.
What kind of money do you think we could be talking in terms of a long-term deal for Pickens? Is it going to be in the Jamar Chase type range? Would we see him overtake CeeDee Lamb in the amount of money that he makes? CeeDee, of course, on record saying that he's completely fine with Pickens making more money than him. He wants to see his teammate eat. Where do you think he'll land?
Yeah, well, if you look at the Spotrac contract valuations based on this was Pickens' best season by far, his first Pro Bowl season, they've got him around like $32 million average per year, which would put him in that DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson type of area. Now, that's just based on their calculations. That does not factor in, this is the latest and greatest wide receiver to be up for a contract. And so I could see him maybe making slightly more than CeeDee Lamb, but I think he'll be hovering around that $34 million average per year number just because of the cap inflation being now over $300 million and just the timing and leverage situation, which is Pickens' contract has expired and it's on the franchise tag. And, the Jones family knows that they can have a lot of different avenues where they have plenty of cap space this offseason. But extending George Pickens and spreading out those cap hits on a long-term deal, maybe making the cap hit for this year and the next a little lower, that could really help them in team building. So I would think that there's some sort of middle ground met, and I could see him signing right around CeeDee Lamb's $34 million, either a little above or a little below that figure.
Would need to stack up quite a few more coins if you wanted to pass Jamar Chase in that $40.25 million that he's bringing in with the Bengals. Garrett Podell, thank you so much. And what will not be the last time we talk about George Pickens and his contract situation, but now knowing that he is receiving the tag, and he is a great receiver with a lot of receiving yards coming off of a 1,429-yard campaign this past year with the Cowboys, good for 4th all-time in Cowboys.
Stop everything. It's official. The NFL confirmed it. The Dallas Cowboys have placed the franchise tag on George Pickens. No rumors, no speculations, at roughly $28.8 million on the franchise tag. The deadline to tag players is Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and Dallas didn't wait around. They made the move. Now, both sides, he elevated the offense. Dak Prescott trusted him. Defenses had to account for him every single snap. Jerry Jones has reportedly called him the best option. That number could climb to $34 million annually. It's unlikely he reaches Jamar Chase territory above $40 million, but surpassing CeeDee Lamb's number, that conversation is not crazy anymore. Historically, the Cowboys wait. Dak Prescott's deal came close to the deadline. Big Dallas contracts kept their elite weapon. They didn't risk losing him. They didn't let negotiations spiral out of control before securing his rights. This keeps the offense intact while giving the front office flexibility to manage the cap and continue building the defense. And make no mistake, this was the smart move. You don't let a 25-year-old All-Pro walk. You control the situation. You negotiate from strength, and you keep your championship window alive. So now I want to hear from you. Was the franchise tag the right call? Should Dallas push hard to lock him in long-term before July? George Pickens in Dallas, hit that like button and subscribe for non-stop Cowboys updates, because this negotiation story is just getting started. Cowboys Nation, we're not done yet.